How do you hold a false assumption? This was a question that one of my clients asked, and it's such a good question that I wanted to make a video about it, because we talk a lot about holding new assumptions, not really thinking about what that actually means. How do you hold it? As in, hold it. So that's what we're talking about today. Stick around. My name is Hedley Derenzie, and this channel is dedicated to simplifying the amazing law of assumption teachings as originally taught by the great American mystic Neville Goddard. So if you would like support rewriting, rescripting any story that you've got running so that you can experience a new reality, I am available for one-to-one law of assumption coaching. You'll find all of those details in the box below this video. I also have a free course, and I have a book coming out in early July. So I will have more information about that. You'll find all the details for everything on my website, youaretheone.com.au. But for now, let's get into it. How to hold an assumption. So this was a question that was asked by a client of mine. Basically said, how do you hold a new assumption? Like, how do you actually hold it? And I thought, gosh, it's such a great question, because we talk about it so often when it comes to law of assumption, and we just kind of gloss over it as if we all know how to hold a new assumption. And I'm sure like you do. But let's go into this a little bit more deeply. When we're replacing an old assumption with a new assumption, we actually have to do some work in consciousness in order for that new assumption to be embedded in the subconscious. So the way things work now is it's your conscious mind that commands the subconscious, and your subconscious mind then projects it out onto the screen of your reality, and you get to experience it with your five senses. So that is the funnel through which new assumptions run. They go from conscious mind into subconscious and then out into reality. And that is why sometimes we don't often get what we're working on, because the assumptions that we're working on consciously haven't yet kind of penetrated the subconscious, and so they haven't been able to project out onto reality. But if you persist with this work, and that persistence is coming from a place of neutrality, not resistance, big difference there, then you will be successful. I mean, you always will be successful. It's just a matter of how long it takes to be successful. But, you know, spoiler alert, everyone's going to be successful with this. We're all awakening. We're all going to get what we want. And that's just how this works. We want to become more proficient with how we are using this funnel. I should probably do a diagram here. Fuck it. Let's just get into it. The assumptions that you are currently holding, you're not actually holding, because you're not doing anything. They're just in your subconscious, and the subconscious holds them. It's like your heartbeat. Your heart is beating autonomously. You're not having to do anything to beat your heart. It does it for itself. It basically keeps you alive, and you don't have to do it. Isn't that amazing? You do not have to do anything to keep yourself alive other than just feed yourself and water yourself and go to the toilet and maybe do some other things, but that's basically it to keep yourself going. So it's like that with assumptions. The assumptions that you've inherited from your caregivers and from your ancestors that just got passed generation to generation, they just went straight into the subconscious, and that is where they are contained and embedded, and you're not even really holding them at that point, because they are so embedded and they're being outpictured that you've become identified with them and believing that that is who you are, and that is what life is like, and that is who they're like, and whatever. So you're not even questioning those assumptions. That is true for you, and therefore those assumptions continue to be reflected back in reality, because you just assume that's the way things are. Now, with law of assumption, we realize that's not the case, that just because something is the way it is doesn't mean that that is the way it is. It just means that you've got an assumption that's causing that to be the way it is. So in order to change the way it is, we got to hold a new assumption. But to do that, we have to first be conscious and aware of what assumption that we're wanting to change. If you're wanting to go to Paris, you've got to start with the city that you're taking off from. Now, in order to bring a new assumption and like send it down into the subconscious, you first have to be conscious of the new assumption that you are going to embed in the subconscious. To embed it in the subconscious means you have to hold it in the conscious mind long enough for it to kind of filter into the subconscious mind. So what does it mean to hold an assumption? Well, as you know, I love etymology, and that is where we're going to go to understand the original meaning of the word hold. As we know, words or language is not the answer. It is kind of like the policeman at the traffic light who is directing the traffic. That is what words and language do with your awareness. So the words you use direct your awareness to certain states and conditions that you then occupy and inhabit, and then which become your reality. So language is very important in the way we use it because it is the signpost to awareness. It will point awareness and direct awareness down a certain path, and then off you go. You are now walking down a path towards a certain result or a state that you will then occupy, and then the state has become your experience, and then you end up identifying with it and you think that's who you are, and that's how we embed an assumption. So let's look at this word hold and see what it actually means, and that will help us to understand what it means to hold a new assumption. Hold, verb, Middle English, holden, earlier halden from Old English, holden. To contain, to grasp, to retain, to observe, fulfill, to have as one's own, to have in mind, to possess, control, rule, to detain, lock up, to foster, cherish, keep watch over, to continue in existence or action, to keep back from action. And if we head down here, comes from ancestral sense is preserved in behold or in the beholden. As you can see, the term hold, it's a conscious concept, meaning when you hold something, you are in possession of something, you are in control of something, you are observing something, which means we're not holding assumptions in the subconscious because we're not conscious of the assumptions that are in the subconscious. They're just there. But in order for an assumption to slip in and become part of the subconscious family of assumptions, we first have to hold it. We are holding a new assumption in our conscious mind. We are aware of it in our conscious mind. We are reminding ourselves of it. To have in mind, meaning we have the assumption in mind. We are aware of it. We're observing it. We're thinking about it. We're talking about it, repeating it. Whatever it is, there's a consciousness involved in the holding of a new assumption. So what is a new assumption? A new assumption is a false assumption. A false assumption isn't wrong. It just means it's not an assumption that we have any evidence of in physical reality. It's a new assumption. It's not yet a physical manifestation. So we must hold a new assumption in our conscious mind, sometimes and often in the face of a reality that is still showing us the evidence of the assumption that's still in the subconscious mind. But a new assumption can replace the current assumption if we hold it long enough, if we maintain our awareness of it long enough, if we persist with our conscious awareness of this new assumption long enough. There are so many different ways to do it. You can use I remember when technique. You can use the isn't it wonderful technique. You can just repeat it to yourself as an affirmation. Oh, money is easy to come by. Of course it's easy to come by. Okay, my reality is saying that it isn't, but I know that if I hold a new assumption that money is easy to come by and I'm not in resistance to my current assumption because I've acknowledged it, I can see it, I know that that is the current story I'm telling, but I also know it's just an assumption, then I can have a new reality if I just hold this new assumption long enough. What is long enough? Long enough can be anything. It can be a minute, it can be an hour, it can be a day, it can be a week, it can be a couple of weeks. Generally, you will know if you're in resistance to your current reality, if you're just holding and holding and holding and you're not getting any movement in reality. That may mean you're pushing back on your current reality. If you are pushing back on your current reality, that resistance is affirmative. You will end up getting more of the same because remember, the current assumption is still the dominant one. And the current assumption is the one that is causing your reality that you're experiencing now. A new assumption is fragile. It's not embedded in your subconscious. In order for that new assumption to slip into your subconscious where you're no longer holding it, it's just an assumption in subconscious, you've got to hold it long enough. You have to be aware of it long enough, thinking of it, obsessing about it, loving it, taking care of it, cherishing it. All of these things it says to hold. When you are beholden to someone, you are with them, you're together, you belong. You have to be beholden to the new assumption. It'll slip into your subconscious and then it'll be outpictured, and then it is no longer a new assumption. It has been proven in reality to yourself. You've proven it to yourself. I'll link that video up here. And now you have evidence of the assumption and you don't have to hold it anymore. Now you can relax into this new assumption that has now been projected out onto your reality, and guess what? There'll be something else to awaken from. There'll be another old assumption to awaken from, and then you just go through the process again. With every old assumption you awaken from, you are expanding yourself into greater and greater versions. You are expanding your awareness, you're expanding your consciousness, you are expanding You're knowing that you are the cause of your reality. And the more you know that, the easier it gets to hold new assumptions, because you're no longer in resistance. You go, okay, all right, my reality is showing me this. I know I'm the cause of it. And I know if I hold and I am beholden to a new assumption long enough, it will become my reality. And you're not battling doubt or resistance. You just know that this is the way things work. And yeah, it might take a day or a couple of days or a week or whatever, but you know that you are the cause of reality. And your awareness and what you're doing with it and where you're directing it is what is producing reality. So look at a certain area of your life. Is there a result that you're not happy with? Now choose to hold an assumption that's going to produce a different reality, a different result, a result that you want to experience. Hold an assumption that supports that result and be beholden to it. Have it in your mind. Remind yourself of it throughout the day, morning and night, or whenever you can. Just remind yourself that this is the new assumption. Have conversations about what life looks like now that you have this assumption in play, and now that this new assumption has been embedded in your subconscious. Have fun with it. And then at some point it'll slip into your subconscious and you no longer have to hold it any longer. It is being held in your subconscious, unaware by you, like your heart. You're not having to do anything for that assumption to continue being projected out. Put all of this to the test. Don't take anyone's word for it. You be the evidence in your own life that this does work, because yes, it does work, but you can only know that if it works for you. So assume that this works for you and then go and hold a new assumption. Be beholden to it and watch your reality reorganize itself. All right, I'll leave it there. Have fun with that one. As always, please remember you are the amazing creators of your reality. You are the superstar of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. Whatever you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you and assume the best for everyone in your movie too, and you will have an amazing life. And this is my wish, my vision, and my prayer for you and for me too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and share. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, oh my God, please do. I'd love to have you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.